YouTube, we are back again for back again. It is the last video of the 3-day split series, so this is going to be the last B-day back day that we've got in this little mini series that we've done. So we're finally here, the 6th workout of the week. This is the one. Again, you'll notice that today's session will be slightly different in terms of exercise selection compared to the A block back day that we had, but the thing that we'll have is very similar themes again, with the volumes, intensities, a little bit different exercise selection, and a little bit different focus in terms of the accessory work, because within this day I like to hit a little bit more shoulder. Even though we had a shoulder day 2 days ago, it's still something that we put in there because generally speaking most people's chests are more developed than their shoulders are, especially mine. So that's how I like to, at the end of that week, at the end of that block, because then we'll have a chest day coming up again after a rest day tomorrow. So far we've obviously covered how and why we do the 3-day on, 1 day off split. Again, this is not a set in stone, this is the only split you should ever run. I don't really like, if I'm being honest, treating the training week as a 7-day week. I just more so look at it as a period of time, so what my goal is, what am I aiming for, and then working back from that to see like how many sessions I can get in realistically, so then you're not chasing it and having to do 2 a days, 3 a days, because you didn't really distribute your sessions well enough, and you end up under recovering, overtraining, and you don't get the adaptations in the end that you wish you could have got. So again, this is a common split for me to run. Some days I'll also do the 4-day on, 1 day off. I've even gone as many as 6 days on and 1 day off. And the underlying message with any of that is always just listen to your body's response. So I'm a big fan of the wave analogy, and that is you ride the wave like a surfer would until 1, you either fall off the board, or 2, and that's when you need to switch it up, give yourself some rest day and things like that. So the good thing with this type of program is it's not your typical nonsensical wannabe science-based lifter. You only need 2 sets to be effective, and that's going to be the most for muscle growth. I never need to deload and all that. Instead, we're getting a very decent amount of volume in. We've seen some research that's out there that's saying 40 plus sets. I think there was a couple of papers that recently talked about 52 sets, building up to that in a week. So again, my goal is over time, if we're going to be progressively overloaded, we're hitting one of those variables more, whether it's volume, the number of sets, the number of repetitions in a set, the intensity in a set, the number of exercises in a session. One of those variables has to change if you want to keep adapting over time. You can't just run the same exact program every single day within your session. And so that kind of brings me to the reason why we've got some exercise variation in here, because we could quite easily just repeat the first 3 days that we've had in the split, but I like to distribute it so then at least we're kind of cycling through. So every 3rd session we're kind of back to the same muscle group and target that we would do for that specific area of body part. So again, when we have our chest day in 2 days, or our more chest focused day in 2 days, we're back to hitting an incline bench press, a flat press, a fly, the themes that were in that session. So similarly with back, I think back is a little bit more complicated actually, because there's just so many components that make up the back. So we actually need a little bit more variety in there because there's so many different target musculature to hit. And so everybody just kind of like, I think, thinks back and goes lats, right? And we always want lats because lats are what are going to give us that huge V-taper. Lats are going to be that thing where, especially in bodybuilding, the pose, the front lat, back lat, or front back, or front, yeah, whatever. I don't even know how to talk then. So it's going to be one of those bigger muscle groups that are going to make you pop during bodybuilding. So obviously we want lat focus in there, but we also can't forget about things like the traps, you know, even the obliques, the spinal erectors. All of these other muscles are going to contribute to giving a defined look. So there's a lot to the back, and it's not just about doing some pull downs and some T-bar rows. Like, there is a lot more to it. But those exercises are going to be some of the most effective exercises because they cover quite a large spread of the back musculature. this is the last session of this mini series, so we're super excited for it, and we will see you in the gym. Alright, so we made it for back day, which means it's the last session of this split. And we got a pretty simple warm-up. It's just a supine cable face pull. So typically don't use face pulls too often as accessory work, but I do like to get the shoulders warm with using the face pull. So that's where this becomes pretty useful. And we don't have to go too heavy on this either. Actually went too heavy on this. I'll go down a little bit. I think I had my working weight programmed. There we go, that's better. So always need one set, a few reps just to feel warm. Again, if you wanted to do a bit of a treadmill warm up or something like that, just to get core temperature and body temperature up, feel free to do that. But we're getting rolling. It's a weekend lift, so we don't want to spend too much time at the gym. Next exercise. So the first exercise we have on this program day is chest supported T-bar row. It's one of my more favorite back exercises because you get a lot of mid back, you get a lot of lat, and you can load it pretty heavy. And I think like sometimes people get annoyed with this exercise because they're like, oh, it's cheating if you like lift your chest and things like that. But then you see other coaches that actually want you to lift that chest up because then you're actually going to get a little bit more tension and strain in terms of some of that upper back musculature, and it actually kind of takes the erectors out of it in a sense. Even though you're in that extension, like they're going to be in more of a shortened position anyway, so less leveraged. But we do one feeder set, 2 working sets, and then typically either one extra working set or a back down set depending on kind of how we're feeling. The kind of annoying thing is they've actually taken the rubber grips off the bar, which is sort of annoying. We had a plate. So I'm not entirely sure, sometimes the rubber grips pop off, but it just basically makes the handles super slippy. So that's where good old trusty lifting straps come in, because then you can hit those intensities and grip isn't going to be the limiting factor. And the other thing I generally see people get wrong with this, if you can see this down here, I'm not sure, but it's putting the platform too far, so they're up on their tippy toes. So as close as you can get to the bench so that your feet are stable and then your chest position is stable is the better. So it's an open rep range on today's back day with this exercise. So it's just taking the first set to failure, maybe a 1 IRR in terms of eccentric overload. And then okay, heavier than I thought today. So you'll notice in that last set, my chest comes up off the bench. And that isn't cheating, that's not a cheat rep. That little bit of thoracic extension is all fine because you can kind of get a little bit of momentum for that concentric phase. Your back is still working. Like, could you turn around and say, okay, I want to stay strict, keep that chest flat planted against the machine? Yeah, that's fine. I'd have to lower the weight down just a little bit, but at the same time, look at where the elbows are translating to, and that little bit of last thoracic extension is more so just to feel a bit more squeeze than anything. Where we're really going to get stimulation, I think, in this exercise is the controlled eccentric. So I'd rather get a few cheat reps than get a super light, strict rep where honestly I don't think there's going to be that much
physiological stimulation going on there. But we don't have that much research on the back, so if that does come out and proves me otherwise, I'll be the first person to hold my hand up and say that I was wrong with that thing. Alright, so I'm going to do one back offset just to get a little bit of higher volume. And so basically starting where we started with the feeder set, but now we're going to take that feeder set to absolute failure. So we warmed up with 10, we're trying to get 10 plus. So with a little bit of fatigue, we should get a little bit of mechanical tension because of that fatigue and the blood flow that we've already got into the area. So we should get a pretty decent pump. Could have done one more working set, hit that 5 to 6 rep range, but especially when it's starting to feel heavy, and honestly I don't feel like I got too much energy with this cut, easier to do a back offset than just force another working set, at least in my opinion. Like to get a little bonus work in on the chest supported row where we throw in a few little kelso shrugs as well, so then we can get a little bit of that upper trap involved and mid trap as well. So typically tack this on at the end, just do a quick set to failure, and then we move into our next exercise block. So back's nice and warm, so we can just dive straight into working weight here. Move this down so we got a little bit of support with the legs. And then I saw something that Eric Janicki and Hani Rambar did with this exercise where they kind of lean a little bit more to the side, and then they get some force reps something, but then they also got some where they actually stayed and kept the shoulder fixed. So I like to kind of get more of like the stretch things. Again, I'm gonna be in the stretch camp until further notice, so that's where we'll do this. I also use strap. Not that my grip is honestly the limiting factor here, but I just generally feel more secure, especially on these handles, as they're pretty slidey. Reps in reserve for that one thing I will say while we're resting is a lot of people worry about like rep ranges, and like, again, all we really know from the scientific evidence is get close to the proximity of failure, and those reps within that proximity of failure are going to be your most stimulating reps. So we know from mechanical tension, mechanical strain, motor unit recruitment, you're going to recruit your larger muscle fibers as time goes on. Warming up is important for one, but as we get through that set, there's going to be an effective range, and then there'll be a drop off due to fatigue. But again, even with fatigue, if we were trying to go to true failure, which we will do in these next 2 sets, getting some of those length and partials in probably isn't harmful at all and might actually be more stimulating. We don't know for sure yet for the back, but again, I'm going to definitely stay in that camp right now, especially as it is a lengthened position for things like the lats. So with that in mind, we added a little bit of weight, so the rep range will come down compared to that first set, and then we're going to actually get some length and partials in now instead. Alright, we got last set before I change the camera angle up just a little bit. Again, the thing with like the single arm training, if you are kind of like short on time, 2 sets is probably more than enough. But because it's our second exercise of the day, it is a weekend, so I do have a little bit of more time to play with. Normally I'll hit 3 sets of my single arm. I do particularly enjoy this machine. I do feel like a really good stretch on the lats. It's a slightly different position than doing a pull down, and so we do like to do those as well in our sessions as well. So you notice that that kind of more vertical pull down is on the A day, and then this kind of more inclinated pull down is on the B day. So variety of positions, I think, is the secret sauce, at least in my opinion. Out there and you do have a true weaker side, I would recommend starting with that. So do the opposite. So what I just did. All right. Pull down done. So the question is, a rear delt's back or a rear delt's shoulders? That's the real question. Either way, doesn't really matter. We want to hit that on this day, and so what better than the rear delt machine? Sometimes I'll do cables, but for a little bit of added stability in this one, I typically like to use the machine instead. And again, 3 sets. We're trying to go fairly high volume on this one, so we'll get into it. Because this is on back day, I'm actually more conscious about the squeeze than I am the stretch. I know that you can flip, do a single arm, pull across. Honestly, I feel like this machine is a little awkward to do that based on the arc of the lever. When you like kind of sit here, it stops you here anyway. And so we miss out on the squeeze. And again, I'm not gonna be only in the lengthened position camp. So for certain exercises, I still believe that the squeeze is important, especially as we don't really get that in there with some of the other exercises. So that's my kind of opinion on that. I'm not die hard, like, oh, we should only do squeeze on this or whatever. But when it's double arm, it's hard to get the arm across the body, first of all. And again, on our other days, our shoulder day, our chest day and things, where we get the arm across the body for those sort of things, and even the cross-body cable row on one of the back days, we're training that muscle group. So again, do what you feel comfortable with. I feel like the single arm version that was popularized by Jeff Nippard is a little bit awkward in this machine, but that's my opinion, at least. So enough talking, next set. All right, let's get this last set. Come on. That's it, failure. On to the next exercise. All right, now we move into accessory block. And you're gonna be like, wait, Craig, you said this back day and you're about to hit another shoulder exercise. And so the reason for this is the machines are directly opposite each other. So it's just an easier transition rather than walking all the way across the gym to come walk all the way back. And so we go back to our single arm theme. Again, I like to get a little bit of extra shoulder in at the end of the week because I think that my shoulders are the thing that needs to develop a little bit more compared to other areas. And there's still back when you're abducting your arm, shoulder flexion, there's still scapular movement there. So there's still a little bit of fractional work going on with the back. So if we add our fractional sets up, we get a little bit of contribution, but obviously the primary mover is the shoulders in this one. So 2 sets, essentially we kind of do a little bit of shotgun style rest. Right arm works, left arm works, vice versa. So we'll get into it. Look like about the 9 rep range. So take some rest there and then we hit that left side again. time for some biceps. So we got heavy preacher curl. We're going to drop set it. Sure, feels a little wobbly. So we're just trying to get as many reps as we can. Take a nugget off, reload, go again. So this might be up there, honestly, with 2 RM, 3 RM. So hopefully I can get more than 1 rep. All right, the rest time is taking the plates off. And we're just going to work down the pyramid. No working up the pyramid today. It gets lighter, but it gets heavier. That's the beauty of a drop set. And some people will be like, whoa, effective reps, effective reps. Honestly, with this, there's nothing better than the pump. That's good. So back to some back with pullovers. So this is where actually our final back exercise of today. So you'll be like, oh, that wasn't too much back volume compared to the A day. Again, we don't need that much coming into that back end of our week. So simple pullover, nothing too crazy. You can use different cable machines. I like this one. So a little higher volume. A few years is a bit of a finisher. We can go heavier, but the heavier it gets, the more I find myself momentuming the bar down and up. So I like to kind of try and stay as much of a fixed position as I can, lean into it forward so we get that overhead stretch. All right, so we're almost there. So as you'll notice on my last back day, we throw some abs in. Now this is a nice little bicep, back and ab combo that you can do. You're not gonna get that many reps compared to a standard leg raise, but try and hold on, fight it for as long as you can. Let those arms come through, continue doing your leg raises. And then we try and hit as many pull-ups as we can at the end as well, under fatigue. Grip's gonna feel horrible, abs are gonna feel tight, but it's a great little finisher to get 2 sets in. leg raise reps you do and the number of pull-ups you do. We've got 2 minutes rest, then we hit the next set. So we made it. Last exercise of the program, last exercise of this split series. So we got the bicep incline dumbbell bench curl. I think I said that wrong. We got the dumbbell incline bench bicep curl. Got that one right that time. So all we do here, 3 sets, and then that's our back, arms, and abs done. So 8 reps, we hit 3 sets, we're trying to 8 rep match. So even if we only get 6, we're gonna rest, pause, get 2 more, get the 8 reps in as much as we can. So it's kind of a hybrid between myo reps and some cluster sets, rep pause method. So we get a bunch of different stuff in there. Set 2, only 1 minute, 20 rest. Rest, pause. So that just kind of shows the importance of rest, because it took just under 1 minute 20 and I'm a couple of reps shy of what I got in the first set. So option A, take longer rest. Option B, rest, pause. All right, another minute 20 rounds. Our usual saying, last set, best set. Oh, failed at 4. All right, rest, pause. We got 4 more. Last set, best set. Last set, hardest set. 4 more. So where's the rest, pause? A lot of people say 10-15 seconds. I just like where I can re-regulate my breathing. Once I feel like I'm there, that's when I go back in. So probably gonna get 2 to 3 here. Last rep, best rep. Thank God for rest pause method. Okay, nice clean rep. And that's it. Last day of the block done. So we'll get ready and then I'll see you all in the car.
So YouTube, that is it. That is the completion of the 3-day on 1-day off split mini series. We've got a few different sessions in there. We've got our A 3-day block and our B 3-day block, and that's typically something that I'll run fairly often in my own personal programming. You see the differences in exercise selection. I like a little bit of variety, but still targeting the same muscle groups, but with just slightly different exercises and patterns. And so each format is relatively pretty simple and builds on the kind of last session before it, and then also helps with the session in front of it. So people might ask question of why wouldn't you do more of a chest and back, like a push-pull day, a leg day, and then a pull-push, and distribute that way? You could. The one reason why I don't like that is because I feel like if I do have any back soreness, it always limits my squat and my RDL, deadlift pattern, and things like that. So from experimenting around and kind of understanding how your body reacts and things, that's how I've came upon doing this split this way. We could, in theory, flip it around if we wanted to and do a quad focused day Monday, upper push pull, and then hamstring focused Wednesday, and that could be a different type of 3-day split with a little bit more lower body volume. But what I've found is having kind of legs every 4th day gives enough recovery time, gives that 72-hour recovery time, and so you're always touching it. So again, think less about it being how many sessions you can get in 1 week in 7 days, but think of it as how many sessions you can get in over a block of time, where at the end of that block of time you have your training goal. So whatever that goal is, just work back from where you are and then calculate out how many days that you can actually train, because then that's going to determine what split you want to run, how you want to run it, as well as in the short term, the acute, how your body responds into that split. So some days I'll do 4 sessions on, some days I'll do 6 in a row with no off day. The most I think I've ever gone is like 14 days where I didn't take an off day, and sometimes you gotta force yourself to take an off day. But ultimately only you know in those moments what split to run. Some days you've got back day and your back is tight from the leg day the day before, you might not want to get through it, but you mentally prepare yourself and you might just go in and do a little bit less volume and slightly do like a deload. Some weeks you might do more like an undulating, a high-low model and things like that. There's so many opportunities for us to change the training program that we're in that it doesn't really matter, I don't think. Like, the chasing of optimal is obviously what we want, but at the same time, doing something is better than doing nothing, in my opinion. And there probably is a little bit of a too much thing, but right now we don't really have too much evidence other than cases of getting rhabdo, of going too far down the rabbit hole and overtraining, and then your gains plateauing and you're never actually making any progress at all. I don't think that happens to a lot of normal gym going people, if I'm being honest. And especially if you like run a split like this, 3 day on, 1 day off, you're always baking in 2 recovery days into a week. Again, well, actually, sorry, I said that wrong. You're always baking in at least 1 recovery day into your week, but you've always got 2 recovery days after each cycle, kind of thing. So where I would kind of go with this next is I'm likely going to do a 4 day on, 1 day off series, just to show how to distribute that a little bit differently, and then I think we'll build from there. So if you've enjoyed this, again, don't forget to like and subscribe, because that is how we keep this channel going. It gives me motivation to make more videos for you, and it also makes me feel good because then we're building a community that will ultimately benefit from this training knowledge. So if you've liked everything, make sure you're hitting the like button. Make sure you're turning your notifications on, because we're going to be doing more of these split example videos as I progress through my own prep and my own different challenges within my training, as well as some other content that you'll see within my channel as well. And the other thing is, don't forget to comment, because I always like to hear what other people have. What questions do you have? Do you have specific things that you don't agree with how I've set up this 3 day split? Let's talk about it, because I feel like that's how everybody learns, is constructive debate and questioning is a good thing. So make sure if you have anything that you want to say, put it in the comments below. Don't forget to check me out on my other socials which we've got posted here, and I'll see you on the next one.